What's going on, guys? Omega Tech here, coach of the Tampa Bay Infernapes, and I am bringing you all the final game of PSBL Season 8. I am coach of the Tampa Bay Infernapes, and I'm going to play Silentdusk, and this is his team right here. So me and Silent have played many times. I've usually gotten the better of him many times, but this time is a little different because his team is probably the only one I'm actually scared of in the event. His Marshadow completely counters my Arceus Ghost. It's a very good check to Arceus Ghost, and there's not much on my team that wants to take Ghost Fighting Stab. Ditto is very threatening to my team as well, so I can't really set up Arceus Ghost like I want to, or any of my other threats like I want to. And the combination of Mega Scissor, Muck, and Licky Licky give me trouble, as the only thing I really have to hit Mega Scissor is Heatran, and I have to keep that healthy. And I can't really bring Tapu Bulu in this game because it's threatened by too much. Deoxys Speed is a little bit annoying, but not too bad. But it's mainly the Marshadow I am worried about. So when we go back to my team, this was an interesting game to prep for. So I started off with the DNC because I really wanted a check to Marshadow. The best thing I can check it with really is the DNC. It's max defense. It can take a couple close combats, and especially Spectral Thieving can take. It can take, I believe, 3 close combats from Marshadow, and then fire back with a Moonblast. As you'll see later, I also have an offensive check to it, but my team doesn't really have a true counter to Marshadow. So Moonblast, Hidden Power Fire for the Mega Scizor with the Babiri Berry, so I can, in case it's offensive Mega Scizor, if it's wear down by the hazards, I can KO with HP Fire, Toxic, and Heal Bell, because just in case he wants to status me and whatnot. Then I got the Heatran with the Fire EMZ, offensive Heatran with almost max speed and max special attack, Magistorm, Toxic, Taunt, and Earth Power. Now at the time, I wanted Taunt because usually like his Muck, he usually likes to set up with his Muck, and I wanted to be faster than Licky Licky and Rotom in case they do some weird shenanigans, and I have the Taunt. At the time, I didn't know Licky Licky got Oblivious, but you'll see I made that mistake in our game later. But I wanted the Fire Z move because most of his team doesn't really want to take a Z Fire, with the exception of Rotom. Even Rotom or Volcanion doesn't appreciate it, and then I'll have Earth Power for the Volcanion. But my Rotom Wash counter is the Seismitoad jumping back over here. Seismitoad being a ground type and having Water Absorb completely counters the Volt Switch Hydro Pump Rotom. The only thing he can do to me is Toxic, and I have DNC with Heal Bell for that. So I have Stealth Rock, Toxic, Earthquake, and Protect. Toxic to Toxic the Rotom, and this is my dedicated Stealth Rocker. Earthquake for damage. Now I go to Arceus Ghost. So this thing, this set I'm bringing is a similar set I brought a couple weeks ago to another match. It was a Recover Judgment Roar, I believe, refresh set, but this time I have sub. Just in case the Ditto wants to come and copy me, I have a sub up and I can Judgment it. And the reason I have Roar is because I know Silent likes to set up with his Muck, likes to bulk up with his Marshadow, likes to Swords Dance with the Scissor, and I decided Roar was a viable way to get rid of those threats and hazard stack his team. The max special attack Monas set isn't something I've really messed with. I've usually gone for bulky Arceus Ghost, but this way Judgment will hit everything really hard, and I don't have to set up to hit the Rotom hard or to hit the Scizor hard for any damage. The only thing that can wall me is the Licky Licky, but I can roar it out and have a sub up so it can't toxic me. and even if it can toxic me, I have Heal Bell in the back. Scarf Greninja is really my only offensive set that can outspeed Marshadow and hit it decently. Even this isn't a true check because Dark Pulse only does around 49% to Marshadow, so I have spikes on it and Stealth Rock on Seismitoad and status on a lot of my Mons, so I can hopefully wear it down and then outspeed and KO with a Dark Pulse. HP Fire for the Mega Scizor, U-Turn for Momentum. And the last Pokemon I'm going to talk about is Terrakion. This time I wanted to use a Banded set. I could have chosen Scarf, but looking at his team, in case Heatran goes down, or in case I can't break Muck with it setting up curses and whatnot, even the Garchomp and the Volcanion, I chose to be Banded because I can outspeed all of them and to KO all of them. Even I believe Muck with one curse cannot beat Banded Terrakion, as it is a minimum, I believe, 65, and after one boost it'll still to a KO after rocks. So I decided to bring Banded, Double Stab, Toxic, and Quick Attack. Quick Attack for the priority in case I need it. Alright, let's go to the game. Pretty much, he brought everything that I expected except the Deoxys, because I thought Deoxys would have been Ditto. But that's okay because my Greninja is set to outspeed the Deoxys. So pretty much everything I expected. So I lead off with my Scarf Greninja as he leads off with his Rotom. I'm just going to go for the safe U-turn into my Rotom Check with the Seismitoad as he goes straight for the Toxic, which is a good play on his part. Now I know through that U-turn damage that this is offensive Rotom, or at least not max HP Rotom. So I set up my rocks. He goes into Mega Scizor and goes for the U-turn. I'm just going to go to Arceus to play it safe as he goes into Muck, threatening either the knockoff or the crunch as he goes for Curse. I go into my Heatran to threaten maybe an Earth Power or Fire, powerful Fire move, and I see him Curse up, and I just go for the taunt just to play it safe in case he switched out to whatever he switched out to, like Deoxys or whoever will get taunted anyways, and if he stayed in, I probably would have gone for a Magnastorm. As he goes for Rotom, now I go back to my Rotom check, which is Seismitoad. I know he can't do any Toxic or Pain Split shenanigans because he's taunted, so he has to go for either Volt Switch or Hydro Pump, or Hidden Power if he has it. So I decided to go to my Seismitoad and then double out into another one of my Mons as he goes into Scizor. So I go into Diancie. Now what I was thinking here was the Rotom was a little bit of an issue since my Seismitoad is Toxic, so I'm happy to sacrifice my Babiri Berry on Diancie to Heal Bell my Seismitoad because I really need that Rotom gone, as I just sacrificed my Babiri Berry right here and Heal Bell. So I go into Heatran so I can maybe threaten something in case he Swords Dance as he goes for the U-turn and back into Rotom. Now here I predict him to want me to go back into my Seismitoad since I went to my Seismitoad 2 times before that, and I predict and stay in and go for the Toxic, which is a good play on my part. A little bit risky, but it was worth in the end. As now I go into Seismitoad and he decides to Hydro Pump me. So I'm reading Silent really well right now. As he goes into Licky, I go into Heatran. Now this is where I make the mistake that I forget Licky gets Oblivious. I don't really fight many Mons with Oblivious, so I forgot. But that's okay. As I try to go for the Magnastorm, miss, he reveals Heal Bell. As I go for the Toxic just to force him to use Heal Bell later on in the game, as he goes for Seismitoad right here. Now I don't really want to stay in because I still need Heatran for Mega Scizor, so I go into my Arceus. As he goes into his Rotom after he went for Seismic Toss last turn, I go for Sub just in case he wants to status me or anything, and then I go for the Superpowered Judgment. I didn't think it would KO him, even though I knew he was offensive Rotom, but he was very squishy as I found out. So he goes into Muck, breaks my Sub. I just decide, I just want to see what he wants to do, see what his moveset is, and then I can go for the Roar later. As I can see, he has Curse and Crunch, I go for the Roar into Mega Scizor. I go for the sub right here, and then he reveals Swords Dance, so now I know he has Swords Dance. He goes to break my sub, and I want to get up to full again. Eventually, I decide to roar him out after I go for another sub. I wanted to see what the Bullet Punch damage was. I might have needed to recover here and maybe gone for the Judgment, but I decided a roar was a better play, as I unfortunately roar him into Marshadow and go to Diancie to take that hit as he goes back into Muck. I predict him to go into Mega Heatran, so I went for the hidden power there. But that's fine. Go into my Heatran, as I know Muck can't really kill me with anything, and this is the perfect opportunity to Z-move, take out the Muck, and the Muck is dead, and that's a huge threat to RC is gone, and Marshadow is the only really offensive threat standing in my way of sweeping, besides Toxicking Licky or hitting it with Terrakion. So I decide Diancie is good to sack right here, as my checks to Marshadow are starting to dwindle. I go into my Greninja threatening an attack, and he decides to go into Licky as I U-turn into Terrakion. So this is a perfect opportunity to go for a Super Bandit attack. I knew he wouldn't stay in, and there was a possibility that he was going to go into Marshadow again. So I decided Stone Edge is my safest play right here, and he goes into Deoxys. And I figure after this, Deoxys would be guaranteed KO, but unfortunately I miss. This was a huge miss in the game, as after the game we calced it based on his set. I believe he was 192 HP and 72 defense. It was a 25% chance to KO after rocks, and even if he lived, he would not be able to switch in to rocks after this. So this was huge, as you'll see later in the game. This thing being dead would have been so beneficial to me later in the game. But he goes for just 2 sets of spikes as he decides to red card me, which was kind of surprising. I thought I was going to die right here, but he reveals Toxic instead, which makes me think that he doesn't have an attack, because he probably would have just went for it right there to KO me, as I just decided to go for the Judgment, not being threatened by him. Goes into Licky. I decide to get back into full HP. Licky decides to Heal Bell. Go back into my Terrakion, trying to make an offensive switch as he goes for the Wish. Now right here, I wasn't gonna go for the Stone Edge again, because I thought he was either gonna protect or go into Scizor, and I wanted to KO the Scizor in case it come in, and unfortunately it doesn't. It lives on 4%. Very unfortunate for me, as I have to switch out, fearing the Bullet Punch, going into my Arceus Ghost, as he Bullet Punch crits me, which is unfortunate because I feel like I have to go for Judgment here, and he lives that, so Scizor living 2 crucial hits, going for the Sword Stance, and I feel like my Arceus is low enough that it'll die to spikes anyway, so I have to sack it. This is where Quick Attack comes in handy, as I don't have any more priority on my team, so I would have had to sack Seismitoad in order for me to kill him. But Quick Attack was very clutch right there, as Marshadow comes in and my Marshadow checks are dwindling as I sack Heatran right here. So this series of plays, I decided to go into Seismitoad, and the only real way I can beat Marshadow is to get it low enough for Greninja's Dark Pulse to kill it, or for me to land a Toxic on it. And this series of turns is basically me wasting his heal bells, so that as soon as he runs out of heal bells, I can start either Earthquaking or Toxicking everything on his team. And so this is just a series of plays where I'm trying to either predict the switch or make him waste heal bells, and I have leftovers, so I'm fine. I know his full set. It's Seismitos, Heal Bell, Wish, Protect, is what I'm assuming. Otherwise, he would have went for Toxic by now. So just stalling right here. Let's just skip ahead. And he decides, with a Wish in the air, he wants to go for giving the Wish to Deoxys speed, and it lives my Earthquake, which is extremely unfortunate for me. Every Mon has been living, especially that Stone Edge miss was crucial. Right here, you see double Toxic miss, which wasn't a turn, and then he misses my Toxic against Greninja. Doesn't really matter too much, as Greninja is only here to kill the Marshadow in the end after it's being whittled down. So I didn't think that mattered too much. Right here, I knew that Licky Licky was toxic, and I wanted to get a Dark Pulse off, or Dark Pulse flinch off, as if I flinched right here, I probably would have won the game, as he would flinch, I would go, he would take toxic damage, I would KO him after, and then I would have finished the game with Seismitoad getting damage on Marshadow, and then I could Dark Pulse it to kill it. As unfortunately I don't get the flinch. He gets a heal bell off, and I have to go back into Seismitoad trying to stall out his heals bells again. This Licky Licky is really annoying. So we just skip some turns. Toxic racks up. He gets Wish in the air. He decides to go for healing Deoxys speed again, as I just Earthquake him that turn. And right here, I say enough messing around. I want to get a Toxic on this thing. I don't want this thing to live, as he gets a Toxic on me. I don't think this thing has an attack, otherwise it would have killed Arceus Ghost. So I decide 2 Earthquakes and a Toxic would be enough. Now, he goes for the Psycho Boost right here, which is very bad because it critically hit, and I had a chance to live a close combat from Marshadow, and then either gone for the Earthquake next turn or got a Toxic on it and started protecting. I probably would have just Earthquaked it for damage. It probably would have done maybe 30, I'm guessing, off the top of my head. But right now, I have to go into Greninja since Seismitoad died from Deoxys, and I have to pray for a Dark Pulse flinch or crit. I go for the Dark Pulse since I'm Scarfed, and I don't get it, unfortunately, as he goes for the Z move. And that'll be good game to Silent and Shedinjas. It was a really good game. Unfortunately for my part, I missed a lot of moves. I didn't KO a lot of Pokemon at certain times. The rolls weren't really in my favor, but that's the way it goes. He had a really good counter team for me. Marshadow just gives my team trouble, and with the combination with his team, I had to prep for more than just Marshadow also. But good game to Silent. He finally wins, I believe, his first league, so good for him. And we come out in 2nd place in the PSBL Season 8. Last year was a complete fluke because I got hacked to death last year. But I'm looking forward to next season. Next season is a doubles league. Or not a doubles league, a 2-person singles league. So me and Big Tucker will be on the team. Our team is known as the Drunken Boomers. And we will start our draft really soon. So a good game to Silent, good game to everybody. Good games to the PSBL. Thanks for a successful season, and I'm looking forward to next season. Hopefully we'll win that one. Alright, later.